to the very first Storytelling Slam show called Say What? I'm Andrea Lovett, your host. I produce the South Shore Story Slams and Doyle's Story Slam series. They're in Boston, and I also co-founded the group called Massmouth in Boston with Nora Dooley. Each of these shows will have a theme and 3 storytellers telling stories on that theme. The stories will make you laugh, make you cry, and some will even give you pause. The theme for this show is Stranger Things. We have 3 tellers with stories on tonight's theme.
So a couple years ago, I had the opportunity to take a drive around the country. I mapped out a route of where I wanted to go, but one thing I'm not very good at is leaving on time. And so I ended up taking a lot of drives from city to city that were mostly at night. And another thing that happens to me when I get out on the road and I'm driving, I get a little tired, I start seeing shadows playing games with me. When I drove through Florida, I thought alligators were crossing the road, and as my headlights came up, but they were just shadows. And I drove through Texas one night. Now, I have a fascination with airports, and so when I was driving down this road, and I see a little flashing red light at the end, I think, oh, neat, there's a runway. I hope there's planes coming in. And then I realize I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm not near Dallas. I'm clear out near the Panhandle. There's nothing around. I could stand on a bucket and see 50 miles. But it's dark out, so I can't see anything but this little flashing red light. And it's slow. It's not bright. It's like a slow throbbing light. And as I get closer, I could start seeing more of those flashing red lights. And I was on the phone with a girl I was dating at the time, and I thought, as these things were coming closer, that I had to be near a runway. And since there weren't any in the area, I asked her to look and see if there are any military posts, if there are any Air Force bases in the area. And she kept saying, no, there's nothing there. You sure you're near like a runway? And as we're talking and I'm driving down this highway, these red lights, they weren't zooming past. They weren't flying through the air. But as I was driving further down the road, they start surrounding me more and more. They're not eye level on the ground. I can't tell if they're on a building. I can't tell if I'm next to, asphalt, if I'm next to an airport hangar. I can't tell if I'm next to anything. It's pitch black out there. There's no moon. There's literally just my headlights on the road. And I am 36 years old, and I still can't watch Poltergeist without leaving every light on in the house. I can't even get through the part where the tree breaks through the window without having a blanket that I can curl up against. I scare easy. And I also want to believe that there's things that nobody's telling us about what's out in these deserted areas. And so in my mind, I am near some secret government place where there's red lights flashing, and it's likely that I've stumbled upon a maybe wrong turn, and I am in the middle of some place that I'm just not supposed to be. And I'm waiting for at any moment some kind of military police or some unnamed security company to pull me over and drag me out of there. But the red lights keep coming, and they keep passing. And I just watch. And they're kind of floating a little higher in the ground. They're not up in the sky. It's not a skyscraper. But they're moving past me slowly and gently. And when I say moving past me, I'm driving down the road. Now, they weren't flying, I'm pretty sure, but I couldn't figure out what they were. And after about 20 minutes, I make it past them. And they're in the mirror, and I'm no closer to understanding what those were. And about 1 o'clock in the morning, I got to my hotel, and I thought through what I had seen, and my heart was racing, and I was able to slow it down. I was able finally to drift off asleep. But it stuck with me every day I drove. And every night I would look out to see what I could find. Are there any more red flashing lights? Are there green flashing lights? What else is going to be on the road? Until one day, I'm driving back through the Midwest, and I see out in these fields wind turbines. And I love watching wind turbines. And as the sun slowly starts to set, I see on top of a couple of those wind turbines flashing red lights. Thank you.
So that was a great story. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Have you ever gone across country and found yourself in a place that you were either lost or you didn't feel real comfortable?
Yeah, actually, the hotel I found was in a Texas, New Mexico border town. And I ended up in a hotel that I thought murder could happen in.
And why was that?
There were holes in the wall. There were holes in the furniture. You could hear people slamming doors at like 2 in the morning, which is probably all really normal things, I think, for hotels. But I was a little amped up. I was a little anxious, and I slept very light that evening.
Did you leave early?
I left as soon as I woke up. Yep, I got up and I left. And the shower curtain was one of those curved ones, and one of the bolts had broken, so it was like stuck in the middle. And so as the water was coming down, it was also going out and onto the floor.
Sounds like one of your finer establishments.
Yes, I didn't find it in the Zagat guide. It was not on TripAdvisor.
And it won't be a rerun for you.
No.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
A personal story, a strange story, that goes back to January 12, 2010. I was at work when I received this panicked phone call from my neighbor, Monique, who was literally screaming and yelling, Charlotte, Charlotte, come right away. Come right away. This wasn't her way speaking or talking usually. So I felt that indeed there was something suspicious happening. So I left work, jumped on the train, and quickly got to Marapen, where I had my house. Getting close to my house, I got the shock of my life. This house was surrounded by some 15 emergency trucks, fire trucks, inspectional division services cars, surrounding the houses, and I saw men with wide hazmats, with construction hats, with safety gloves, getting in and out of my basement and bringing out stuff. When I say stuff, I am talking about furniture, I am talking about books, I am talking about paintings, and I'm talking also about some particularly toxic materials. Which toxic materials? The owner of the house from whom I bought this place used to be a first and foremost storyteller in the Haitian community. He also used to be one of those freedom fighters called Camoquin, who were keen on throwing out the Duvalier, the baby dog dictatorship in Haiti. So in his basement, he has a whole collection of political literature, including even more toxic materials, books, pamphlets, by a guy named Che Guevara, by another one called Fidel Castro, another one called Mao Zedong, about how to conduct guerrilla war and get out the bad guys, the dictators. What has happened to my property? Somehow, an old man who had retired felt the need to come back and work for his son, and since he used to deliver oil to this house in the past, instead of heading to my neighbor's house, he came near my basement, found an old pipe he used to unscrew, pulled it out, and connected his tube. But what he didn't know is that when I bought this house, I had removed the huge tank inside my basement, so now it was just a pipe heading straight to my basement. So apparently he connected to this pipe and then went to his car, listening to music, looking at his newspapers, the Red Sox, New England, Revolution, and he totally let this gas or this oil getting into my basement, dumping an entire load of oil in the basement. So that's how my neighbor, looking for the man, came out and saw that he was actually unloading oil in my basement, and she knew about it. So I get closer and said, what's happening? Policeman told me, no, sir, you cannot get into this place. All you have to do, if you have any urgent paperwork, get them and get out. This place is declared a disaster area. Truth be told, they were erecting fences around my property. They were talking about bringing it down or displacing it from this particular location to a different location. I was literally expelled from the place for safety reason. I went to Bon Appetit restaurant on Blue Hill Avenue in Mattapan, thinking Charlot became a homeless. I sat down, pulled my wallet. From my wallet, pulled a couple of credit cards, of course, and then I pulled my cell phone, and I was checking where I was going to sleep tonight. Would it be Sheraton in Braintree? Would it be Doubletree Hotel near UMass Boston? Would it be Holiday Inn near the some other place? I couldn't decide because I had choices. I had a credit card with $4,000 line of credit. And then suddenly in the restaurant, I heard a profound, sudden silence. I heard some gasp. I heard, oh my God, oh Lord. I heard, mon Dieu, papa, m'sac passé. Oh mon Dieu, c'est pas vrai. Not true. This was CNN. This was CNN with people running around covered with ashes, dust, blood. Haiti, my country, had just been hit by a 7.5 earthquake, had swallowed some 230,000 people in 35 seconds, and was sending more than 1.2 million people running away looking for cover, looking for a place to stay, looking for shelter. And I was in this restaurant, a telephone in hand, trying to be picky about where I was going to sleep at night. It took me some time to realize the very relative value of things. And since then, I've learned not to be picky about hotel rooms, and I've learned not to sweat the small stuff.
So, Charlot, fantastic story.
Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Are you back in the same house, or whatever happened?
No, I'm not back in the same house. I lived in the same house for 2 years until I moved to Norwood. But what happened after my work brought me into the Emergency Preparedness Bureau because I felt the urge to always be connected to what happened and then to lend my support. And it was important preparation because right now, as Haiti was just hit again by a Hurricane Matthew on October 4th, I am in this mindset of being in touch with people and trying to make things better for folks in Haiti.
Do you have anything coming up that you would like to talk about for Haiti?
Yes, we have, for example, this telethon that we call it on October 22nd happening, and we'll be posting information on my Facebook page about other interventions and other activities happening in the community to address the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew.
So, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I would say my Facebook page is certainly the best option, or my email address, charlotlucien@yahoo.com. And I'm also hoping to team up with you and then with some folks in the cultural sector in Brockton to have a marathon or something to that effect on October 4th. We are still working on it.
Thank you.
My pleasure, Andrea.
I was first introduced to the strange idea of the short bus in elementary school. It was a special bus. It was shorter than the regular school bus, and children with special needs took the short bus. There was a boy who wore a helmet because when he had an epileptic seizure, it kept him from smashing his head on the ground when he fell. There was a girl with scoliosis who had a long brace. And then there were kids who rode the short bus temporarily, like when they broke a leg and couldn't walk to school. I knew that they were different and that special wasn't really a good thing. Then in 2008, I was introduced to the short bus. I had recently been diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis. I suddenly lost vision. I didn't have great balance, and I was no longer allowed to drive. I had to give up being a Volvo driving soccer mom, something that I just loved. but I thought, I'll make do. So when my neuro-ophthalmologist said, there's this thing called the ride from the MBTA, I knew that those were the short buses that I saw driving down the highway with the yellow stripe on the side, and I was not special. I was not going to be driving around on the short bus. I said, no, that won't be necessary. I was accepting my disability, but I knew I didn't look disabled. And I was afraid of what people would think of me. They would see me getting on the short bus, or my fellow riders would think I was somehow trying to scam the MBTA, because doesn't everyone want to ride around town on the short bus? So I made do. I took the T, I took the bus, I got rides with friends. And then things started to happen. I started getting lost. I started missing buses. And then 2 years after I stopped driving, in the same week, I fell in a hole and twisted my ankle when I missed a bus and had to walk in the dark. I got on a commuter rail that was express to Providence, and I realized I needed to suck it up and mail in the ride application and start taking the ride. I decided that my first inaugural ride would not be anywhere important, anywhere, where I needed to be there at a particular time. So I thought, I'll go to Walmart. I hadn't been to Walmart alone in 2 years. I had to rely on friends, and, I was always nervous about, am I buying too much? Do they want to leave before I want to leave? So I picked a Saturday and I went to Walmart. I was in heaven just walking around Walmart all alone. And I got to the register 30 minutes before my ride was to pick me up. I had purchased a lot of stuff I probably didn't need. And I was removing things from the little turnstile of bags and putting them in the carriage when I heard my name being shouted. Julie Baker! Julie Baker! I couldn't see who was shouting because I have low vision until this man approached. He was a large man. He was wearing a neon green reflective vest and a trucker cap, and he looked very angry. I sort of tentatively raised my hand to identify myself. I was convinced everyone was staring at me. He saw all the bags in my carriage, and he explained that he didn't have to take me because I had more than 4 bags. When we went out to the car, he opened up the trunk. There was enough room for my bags, 30 other bags, a wheelchair, and a walker. But he was nasty. So I knew that this was what I had in store for me. I didn't yet know that I could bring a TJ Maxx bag or a Marshall's bag and stuff all the bags inside of them and bring 4 of those. I didn't know that I could have said to him, you know what, you're early, so I'll be out when I'm out. But then I didn't know. The first time I took the short bus to my job, my boss and I were friends, and he was making fun of me and teasing me about it. But the car showed up, and it was the sedan. It wasn't the short bus. I was so excited. So I got dropped off in what looks like a cab. Then 5 o'clock came. The short bus arrived. I could hear it through the door. Beep, 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 beep. Backing up. I ran outside to get in before my boss could come outside because he threatened to take pictures of me boarding the short bus. I got out, and I was so busy paying attention to my bags that I didn't realize my driver was reaching his arm across me until his hands brushed over my breasts and buckled me in. I texted my boss, well, you missed it. I got buckled in. He said, no, I didn't. Look up. And there he was in the window taking a photo of me in the short bus getting buckled in. That was 6 years ago. I've been all over the Boston area on the ride. I've met first dates on the ride. Praying, please be the sedan, please be the sedan, please be the sedan. Convincing nice drivers that they could drop me off down the street from JP Licks where I'm meeting the stranger. I've been to the beach on the ride. I have been to job interviews on the ride and tried to look up a coffee shop that was nearby so I didn't have to deal with that. I have met amazing people. all kinds of amazing people on the ride, people who for all different reasons take the ride. I thought that I was going to be the only one who didn't look disabled. I've met lots of people. I met Olga. Olga is a woman who came to the US as a teenager from Russia, and she was going to be an American teenager, and she was an American teenager. And then she was walking down the street and she got hit by a Mack truck. And she had a head injury, and she had she only had short-term memory. So every single time I would see her, she would introduce herself to me and ask me if she could be my friend. I had a driver named Kevin who, when he saw my name on his manifest for the day, he was all excited because I would sit in the front and I would talk to him, and he would stop at McDonald's first because I didn't mind that he ate McDonald's in the car, and he would get an extra fries for me. I was introduced to Uber a couple years ago. Uber is much more efficient than the ride, much more efficient. You can look at an app on your phone and see they're 4 minutes away. With the ride, you call up and you say, they always start the call the same way, ID number, please. I say 2062784, name, please, Julie Baker. How can I help you? I always want to say, if you're looking up my number, you clearly see that you were supposed to be here 15 minutes ago. But I don't. I'm polite, so they don't put me on hold forever. Uber is a wonderful, wonderful thing, but I don't meet people like Miss Deborah on Uber. Miss Deborah is originally from Barbados. She now lives in Mattapan, and she has Parkinson's disease. She gets up 2 hours before the ride picks her up every day because it takes her that long to get ready in the morning, to go to her job at the town hall. Miss Deborah and I make up during the horrible winter a couple of years ago when we were sitting on the ride all the way into Boston in traffic. They take you all over. Sometimes I'll be going to Newton and I'll stop in Jamaica Plain. I'll stop all over the place. I know the city of Boston much better than I used to know the city of Boston. And now I can truly say that I am special, and I ride the special bus. Thank you.
So, Julie, I've been on the ride myself. I've been a companion to someone. I was wondering, I know what you're saying. How could the ride be better, in your opinion? How could they make the ride better?
First things first, they could use technology, and you could have an app on your phone so you could see when the ride's going to get there. Second, and almost as important, is they would be allowed to go to Dunkin' Donuts drive-through for coffee. And probably third, I have this idea for a ride party bus. Right now, you're only allowed to have 2 companions. One rides as a PCA, a personal care assistant, and one rides as a companion. I think you should be able to take as many people as you want on the ride and use it like a party bus.
Oh, that sounds like a great improvement. I'll be there.
Good.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming. Well, thank you for listening to our show. I always end the show with a storytelling tip. The tip for this show is, when you're looking for a personal story to tell, write down a series of prompts that may be 1 or 2 words long. For example, I'll give you 4. Snow day, absent, gift, cornered. You can write as many as you want. Then let your mind wander over them and see if a story from your past bubbles up. If you think you have a story you'd like to tell, please call the station and they will get in touch with me for an audition, or better still, come to one of my story slams. You can find them on mass-story.com. Remember, a story is not a story until it's told.